a lot to learn these lessons. So I want to pour what I've paid into you, and payback time is to empower you with the margins of millionaires, to empower people today to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun in a downturn of a market. And we love love to learn the advantages that occur when people oversell, overbuy. We want to identify all the different opportunities, options, and touches of favor. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jake. And what makes this recession so interesting, and why I call it payback time, is that, each time there's a downturn, we learn valuable lessons, and those lessons create margins. They create true bottom line margins. I call it the margins of millionaires, only historically, because more millionaires are made during a recession or a downturn than any other time. And the reason it is that things are overbought and oversold, and nothing creates margins, healthy margins, than when things are overbought and oversold. The best part about looking historically in downturns is that human nature never changes, that people will continue to overbuy and oversell, regardless of what history teaches us, and that those that are wise, those that are aware, can take advantage of the overselling and the overbuying if they look upon three different things. One, if they look upon the market itself, and finding the best market is something that we'll talk about. And then the market makers is a little bit more obsequious, trying to find who are the market makers to determine if it's just a facade of overselling or overbuying, or they're actually, strong hands or loose hands on the market that allow us to create those bigger, and the third component, margins. A lot of people get so busy during a downturn trying to save themselves, they forget to make money. They're working within the context of being afraid. And what makes this great recession that we are in, and we will continue to be in, so interesting, is that there's a hangover of a few $1 trillion that have been poured into the economy, and there's a majority of the younger workforce, at least in the last 15 years, that have never experienced a downturn. So you can imagine that anyone that's basically 40 and under has not been, or most people have not been, into a position where the downturn was other than something to be aware of, but not participate in. And so these two factors will determine the markets, the market makers, and the margins, the overselling and the back end selling that occur during a recession. And that's why I want to continue to talk about and pour into all the lessons that I've learned, the dummy tax that I paid, in order to help people find the best market, find the best market makers, and of course, make the most margins within the recession. And so let's talk about how the markets itself are made. And the first thing and lesson that I've learned is that things fall apart quickly. And that's the first rule of the recession. And it's going to fall apart quickly as we look at the debt that we've created. And the debt is what causes people to fall apart, organizations to fall apart, institutions to fall apart. And we even have seen countries falling apart to cover debt. And so if we're going to analyze a market, we want to look and see where the debt is, what kind of debt there is, and how to take advantage of that debt. So as we've learned from the past, one of those types of debt that creates extraordinary opportunity, options, and touches of favor, creates extraordinary margins as well, is something called subprime lending. And I know that subprime lending has been extricated from real estate because it completely destroyed our economy when we were just giving out loans to anyone at higher interest rates. And subprime lending, less than AAA paper, is something to be aware of, because where there is subprime lending, where there is that type of debt, there is extraordinary options and opportunities. And so you need to explore different markets where the debt is and what kind of debt there is, because that will determine one of the great opportunities and options of where you can make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. So subprime lending is one of the areas which is still in existence today. It's just utilized in different areas mostly in luxury items like yachts and planes and luxury cars and motorhomes and boats. But those opportunities exist today, and you can follow step by step, and we'll go over different opportunities like that and where you find subprime lendings in our taking advantage of the recession group, which I encourage all of you to join, so that we all can utilize the margins of millionaires and take advantage of the dummy tax that I paid, experienced, and done. So the first thing to realize is things can fall apart quickly and do during a recession because of debt. And it's not just how much debt, it's the type of debt that we can search for in order to provide us an opportunity to make that margins of millionaires that so many of us have done over the historical downturns that have occurred, at least in the last 30 years, especially. The second falsity, and we saw this during the pandemic, and we'll see this during the downturn, is you don't have to necessarily lose your job to be impacted. So many people hinge the downturn of the market on whether or not they are employed or not. And looking at this over the past several weeks, you have seen obviously the costs rise, and people are stocking up on all kinds of things. But where prices have even remained normal, things aren't inexpensive, right? And in previous recessions, non-salary workers like real estate agents, car salespeople, have seen their commission and that income evaporate almost overnight. We saw banks close, housing prices decline, people's net worth drop, as we see right now in stocks, in crypto, in NFTs. Net worths have dropped 30, 50, 70% seemingly overnight. And this effect is that the employers will become strained or stressed, which actually provides opportunity. Opportunity, if you have skills, knowledge, and desire that is aligned with being able to utilize those downturns, those oversellings, in order to create abundance, in order to help other people. You don't necessarily need to lose your job in order to be impacted, but that impact can be utilized to your advantage to take advantage of the recession, to not only make money, but to help people that have seen significant financial strain, significant losses in what they do. So the second lesson that we've learned is you don't have to lose your job to be impacted. The third lesson is that all the pain is not in your wallet. And this one was a heavy lesson for me to learn, because I was one of those people as a multimillionaire in my 30s that identified myself with how my bank account or my wallet looked. And my health and everything around it was determinative upon what my balance was. And when I would suffer pain in that position, in that wallet, in that bank account, that would be the impact or the catalyst to understanding things are going well or things are going bad. And when we start looking at a bigger picture, that as I exclaimed, I didn't believe in a God back then, that I did everything myself, that I was narcissistic and in control of everything in my trajectory, and realized that everybody serves a God. I was serving the God of the wallet, the God of the bank account, the God of money. And so to look at things differently and say, not all the pain is in my wallet during a downturn, that the calamity that is created by a recession is real. And we are already fighting a mental health pandemic. And we, as I am on a mission to empower over 1 billion people to be happy, need to be aware of all the different effects of a recession that go beyond the wallet, which will then circumvent back to, or get back to hitting everybody, because as we will see the net worth decline, the mental stress that occurs, we're going to see even a greater pandemic or epidemic of mental health. And we have to prepare ourselves right now by utilizing strong self-development, investing in ourselves, knowing we're in control of our mindset, our heart set, and our handset. Because if we're not in the right mindset, the right heart set, and the right handset, we will not be in a position to take advantage of the recession to create abundance, to empower others, to be happy by making a lot of money by these markets, market makers, and the margins that are available. So remind yourself that not all the pain is in your wallet, that we have to have our non-negotiable of health, our mindsets, our heart set, and our handset are completely reliant upon our health, especially our mental health. The fourth lesson that we learned to take advantage of a recession is that cash never lasts as long as you think it will. And this is just human nature 101, that as much as we want to save for a rainy day, that we never save enough, and that our money will never last as long as we think it will, unless we connect the dots backwards, unless we are disciplined in our spending. We will always run out of money before we thought we would. And so we need to make sure that we are unemotionally predetermining the distribution of our financial well-being, and that we are holding today, even if you haven't felt any impacts, even if you feel like your business is going to last and go forever, your money will run out. It will not last as long as you think it is, unless you have the discipline of predetermining unemotionally the distribution by percentage of what your costs are going to be: your living cost, your automobile cost, your food cost, your travel, your entertainment. That discipline is critical to take advantage of the markets and the market makers as you find them, to create even greater margins. If I prospect how long my savings will last, or how long I will be able to withstand a recession or a downturn, I usually prepare half of that, meaning twice as much as a percentage of savings and twice as little of spending. And therefore, that's about, for me, the average of what people over or optimistically look at and why they run out of money. And as you know, the closer you get to zero, the more resistance occurs and the more acceleration you get of running out of money, and the less money becomes available because of that resistance, scarce energy that's created. The fifth lesson that I've learned to pull in, and this one will apply to everybody with the growth of the gig economy, with the romanticization of the entrepreneur, is that even side hustles get cut. So many people just think that the recession or downturn is going to be an opportunity to lean into the side hustle, and that will just flourish. I just want, which is fine, to lean into the side hustle, but remember that within the context of a gig economy and the world, which is vastly different from last time we had a recession, so many millions of people have side hustles who didn't have them in the past. So many people are going to think they can rely on this outside income to provide that savings financial cushion. And I would just point out that you can't rely on the side hustle. You can lean into it, but side hustles can get cut as well. And so if you're only relying on that for your financial future to take advantage of the markets, the market makers, and the margins, this is not a great discipline, or not a great strategy, because even those get cut as well. And the next lesson to pour in is, our biggest risks are the ones that you don't see. And let me share a quick story, what I mean by that. In 2006, there was, as today, a sentiment that things wouldn't go down. The housing market wouldn't go down. There's too much of a shortage. There's still properties here today, right? They are selling with waiting lists, and there's just too much of a shortage for it to go down. And it was interesting because, holding as much real estate as I did, with 33 homes in San Diego alone, I had a golf course, a ski mountain, and I thought, oh, there's no way I'm sitting from the purchase price. And then, things happened quicker than I thought. I didn't understand because I didn't ask for help how finances worked and what banks could and couldn't do. And it wasn't just me; it was many of millionaires and billionaires that I knew that were going to 20 and 30-year relationships at their private banks to get a float or a line that were cut off immediately. And I didn't see that coming. I saw about $40 million of liquidity that I could utilize in order to maintain my not only lifestyle, but my business style to complete the project, especially the golf course, the biggest one I had, in a timely fashion. And lo and behold, I didn't see it coming. And if you go out and find someone who sits in the situation that you want to be, if you go out and seek help, if you ask for help from people who have survived these downturns over 20, 30, 40 years, you will find that the biggest mistakes that are made, the biggest risks exist are the ones you don't see coming. And the only way you can see it coming is to find someone who's in a situation that you want to be in and ask them what they didn't see coming. Make sure that they have the banking relationships that they think they have. I was just amazed that after 20 years of working with the same individual at my private bank, I knew I was in trouble when I went in to go ahead and utilize my line, when the person who had been with me for 20 years and had represented the security of the bank and represented the security in our relationship wasn't there anymore. And here was a person that didn't even know my name and didn't have a personal relationship with me, nor did they care that they were about to disrupt my entire life. Now, because I give meaning to everything I see, and because the past is relative, it ended up to being a promotion and a protection of losing everything. But I didn't have to lose everything if I would have learned the lesson that the biggest risks that we have are the ones you don't see coming. And the only way to avoid those risks or to prepare for those risks is to ask for help, to get mentorship, to find someone who's in a situation that you want to be in. And that's why we've created a group. We will meet every Monday to talk about not only how to take advantage of the recession, but to share and network with one another opportunities, options, and touches of favors that exist, and also raise awareness to risks that other people may not see coming from the situational knowledge, experience, and leveraging the situational relationships that exist. The next lesson to pour into everyone in a recession is that some investments will remain stable. And so we've talked about the market utilizing, to me, the stock market to align with the skills, knowledge, and desire that we have in the trajectory that we want is critical during a downturn. It's critical. So if we know that some investments remain stable, we also know some investments will do well, and we can also take some lottery tickets. So the strategies that we'll work through in our group and talk about is, what are the 50 companies that have not moved in the last 3 to 5 years? And in the stock market, we can find these companies and then look within the market makers to see how our skills, knowledge, and desire are aligned with the market makers' skills, knowledge, and desire in the industries, careers, and jobs that remain stable or even are doing well. And so many places have remained relatively stable. Long-term rentals, the short-term rentals, not so much. Certain stocks will show you where the industries, careers, and jobs are that remain stable to protect us and provide us an opportunity to be a market maker, and looking and seeing how and what outpaces the rest creates those margins as well. So investments that will continue to make money are crucial. And to find those, there needs to be a process of aligning your skills, knowledge, and desire with what's doing well today or what hasn't moved in the last 3 to 5 years. And the stock market's a great place to do that analysis, to find the industry, jobs, and careers, and then utilize that in order to be a market maker or to participate in the market making of the overselling or overbuying, which creates the margins of millionaires. So remember that all is not gloom and doom, that the idea of this training and the idea of the group is to raise awareness to find how to take advantage of the greatest opportunity that historically has existed in the United States, which is a downturn or a recession where more millionaires are made. For those who understand or have paid the dummy tax or have utilized mentorship to share or participate in the perception of that dummy tax in order to outperform the rest. The next lesson, just because you can qualify to borrow money doesn't mean you should. And, we talked about debt. Some debt, in the same respect that you want to buy up because of the nature of that debt and who's buying it and what it's utilized for, but also the debt or credit bubble is something to be aware of, and that we want to make sure that we are taking on the right leverage and the right debt in order to take advantage of things that are oversold so that we can buy them. And there's some great opportunities that exist for low income, minority borrowers, female borrowers. There's a lot of government programs. Let me tell you about one. If you're a small business owner and you have not applied, it takes between 8 and 12 minutes for your ERC, for your employee retention credit. You get about, on average, $26,000 an employee if you maintain them during the recession. On average, small businesses are getting a credit of $225,000. Over 80% of the small businesses in America are approved for, in minutes, right? Approved for their ERC, their employee retention credit. And this credit can be utilized in an extraordinary way because the timeliness of the credit that's given now to take advantage of the overselling and back end selling. If you do not or have not, just please email me directly. It will take 8 to 12 minutes. I will get you right there to the application so that you can yourself get this credit. So if you don't know about the ERC, Google it. Everyone knew about the PPP, but the ERC is way easier. And for anyone that retained their employees, any small business owners, this was meant for you to get back your tax dollars. So there's a bonanza waiting for you. If you are complaining about taxes, well, some of it is your own accountability of what you're doing to participate in that perception, because there's a huge credit coming your way that most people don't even know about or aren't taking advantage of. So go ahead, email me, david@dmeltzer.com. You can join the recession group, or you can, of course, go ahead and get that ERC credit. It takes 8 to 12 minutes to get it. And 80% of small businesses own it. I'm going to take a breath real quick. Everybody, on that note, if you don't mind, let's invite some more friends in here. We have a nice, big, growing room. Let's get our numbers up. I'm going to take a quick breath as well. But my email, if anything has intrigued you, I also am going to give away, if you email me, an exercise for taking advantage. So those people that don't want to join the group, don't want to, listen to this again, just go ahead, email me, and I'll give you an exercise that you can do every day to take advantage of the recession, to live in the market making and margins of millionaires that you deserve to. So just a reminder, just because you qualify to borrow money doesn't mean you should. There's credits that are good and credits that are bad, debt that's good and debt that's bad. Learn those. The one that I would take most advantage of as a small business owner is ERC, the employment retention credit. It's a great way to get back some of your taxes if you're a small business owner that retained your employees during the pandemic. So just email me, david@dmeltzer.com. All right, the next lesson, a house during a recession is primarily a place to live. And, being able to fight inflation, the number one way to fight inflation is to live in your own house, because your mortgage does not go along with inflation. Hopefully you've locked it in to a fixed rate when they were down into the twos so that you can even take a better advantage of it. But living in your house not only allows you to fight inflation during a recession, but it also allows you to have asset-based lending, very quick lending that allows you very healthy debt to take advantage of the overselling or overbuying, to create the markets or be a market maker yourself, to create the margins of millionaires yourself. So one of the key lessons that I learned is a house is primarily a place to live during a recession. You are not doing yourself any great service by renting out your home and finding some else place to rent yourself. So remember, a house during a recession, if you have one especially, is primarily a place to live. Here's one that was great, and it's a duplicative lesson that I learned. Stock prices can keep falling a very, very, very long time. 12 years of gains that I had disappeared in 17 months. And I kept buying in, thinking that I was hedging against my losses, creating even more damage to what I was doing. And understanding beyond the fact that stock prices can keep falling a very, very, very long time is the amount of emotional bleeding that occurs with investments like these as they are falling. And so what we want to make sure that we do is follow the 5 daily practices every day to say, what is it I want personally, experientially, giving and receiving wise? Who can I help and who can help me? And how best to get this done, so that I'm putting my energy and prioritizing my energy with what's important to me, not what's important to other people, or what I don't want, or what's missing in a fear-based, scarce, quid pro quo, zero-sum game of stocks, where all my energy was going towards not making money, but the money I was losing. And guess what? When you put your attention and intention on the money that you're losing, you end up losing more money, and you end up learning the lessons that stock prices can go down and keep falling for a very, very, very long time. Put your attention and intention into what you want during this recession, not what's you're losing, what's missing, what's, being lost, or what other people tell you. Put it into your importance, into the what you want, the who you can help, the who can help you, and how best to get that done. Putting your attention and intention on making a lot of money by utilizing these lessons and helping a lot of people will allow you to enjoy or have a lot of fun by taking advantage of the markets like others have historically in a downturn, taking advantage of being part of being a market maker and participating in that perception. And of course, maximizing the margins of millionaires that are available during that. And so the other lesson, as I'm a parent, that I'll hit on before we get to the Q&A, is that you aren't necessarily done with your kids after college. And we're going to see this again. When we have a downturn, we have a group of young employees that have been spoiled, maybe not by their parents, but just by our economy. The greatest growing economy of all time since 2008. The most sustained growth and the greatest percentage of growth and the greatest amount of growth in the history of the world has occurred here in the United States of America. We have poured trillions of dollars into our economy, and we have created efficiencies through technology and hybrid and remote working. And college graduates have had a job market that has never been seen before, where they had all the leverage. Could you imagine those who are as old as me getting all the leverage graduating from school? Well, that's about to turn. And when it turns, our children who have been spoiled by an extraordinary economy are going to want to come home. And not only are they want to come home to be with you and to live with you, but they are going to want you to pay for them, for their cell phones and their cars and their insurance and their rooms and their food and their entertainment and so on and so forth. I believe one of the keys to being successful is to be prepared that your kids aren't necessarily done after college. In fact, one of the other expenses that occurs is that a lot of kids that can't find employment will go to graduate school. Talk about an expense. Holy moly, now you're paying, hundreds of thousands of dollars for education, plus room and board, plus entertainment, et cetera, et cetera. So be prepared. You aren't necessarily done in college. These are just a few of the lessons that I've learned through the recessions and downturns of 93, 99, and especially 2008 when I lost everything. things can fall apart. You don't have to lose your job to be impacted. Not all the pain is in your wallet. Cash will never last as long as you think it will. Even side hustles get cut. The biggest risks are the ones you don't see coming. So make sure you get mentorship. Join that taking advantage of the recession group. Email me, david@dmeltzer.com. Some investments do remain stable, so look for those. And just because you can qualify for money doesn't mean you should. Look at the debts, look at the credits, apply for ERC now so you're ready to take advantage of that. Make sure you know your primary home is a place for living. Stock prices can and will continue to fall, and longer than we anticipate. And of course, our children are not necessarily gone, even though they've graduated college. All right, everyone. Jakey Bakey, why don't you reset the room? And it's time to take some questions.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you for that recession training. Thank you, everybody, for joining for that 30 minutes. So now we have 29 minutes or so for questions. So if you'd like to ask David a question here on Clubhouse, feel free to back channel me or raise your hand and we will bring you up. Let's also share. I know we're at the bottom here. We have 196 shares. Let's get that to at least 200, maybe even 215 at least. So let's continue to share. Thank you, everybody, for joining here on Clubhouse. So with that in mind, let's take a quick question. Let's start with Marco Antonio. Marco Antonio, welcome to the Clubhouse. What question do you have today for Dave?
Hey, good morning, Jake. Good morning, Dave. Appreciate the topic. Dave, I think around this time, around this recession, I've been having a lot of conversations with people in my community. And I think there's just like a lack of awareness that we're even dealing with the recession. And sometimes we don't know necessarily who to ask for help or where to go. And one thing I found for me to be really important that's helped me is being a part of communities that have these types of conversations. And I just want to give a special shout out to somebody that's here in the room, Ian Dunlap. He's somebody that, I started following actually probably in the last 2 years during this recession. And he's been an advocate for just making sure more people of color are getting access to these conversations about financial literacy. So my question for you, Dave, is what have you done? What kind of communities have you been a part of? Who are you asking for help? And what are you doing now to hedge your bets against the recession now?
Well, that's more than one question, but I'll try to answer all of them. And I appreciate Ian as well. And thank you for everything that you do. Well, for me, number one, I have every single day free trainings, right? I do this one on Friday for over 22 years and have built a community. We online here have over 66,000 people registered for today's training. And I think, being able to give back and to make accessible not only myself, but people like you that ask these questions, and we can share through the questions that are asked of others by learning what we're listening for. So my community, obviously, I've built over the years by giving free information on lives, office hours, 2-minute drill, the playbook, entrepreneurs, elevator pitch, anything that I can do to pour into a community to pay the dummy tax for them and provide my books, guides, exercises for free. The groups that I've created, there's so many of them, careers groups, transition groups, and now taking advantage of the recession group. But one of the communities that I work with is with Marshall Falk and financial literacy, just teaching people the basics of what, I'm probably the poster child for financial literacy, because just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you're financially literate. And so I'm someone that people ask me, how the hell did you lose over $100 million? And I'll tell you, because I didn't ask for help and I wasn't financially literate. I was just good at selling and making money. But that doesn't make you financially literate. I didn't know what to do with that. And one of the areas is, recession proof is insurance, and using any asset-based lending during a recession, during an inflationary period, is probably one of the greatest vehicles of the margins of millionaires from the Rockefellers down that have utilized here in America, not only to protect against inflation, but also, of course, to get tax-free income, a legacy for the rest of your life that your great grandkids can participate in. So working within the context with Marshall and all the things that we do, he's been as a guest on here with Tyree as well, just utilizing the biggest names in billionaires, millionaires, entrepreneurs, celebrities, athletes, and entertainers to raise awareness to what financial literacy is, so that people can make a decision to do something about it. As you know, the first and only step that's necessary is somebody that wants to make a change. If you don't want to, it doesn't matter what we give them, Marco. It doesn't matter what we do. If somebody doesn't want to make the change, if they go the extra mile every once in a while, and then when they lose everything, they justify why they lost everything by saying, yeah, but I did everything I can. No, you did it every once in a while, but you didn't do it every day. And people lie to themselves. They don't live in the empty mile where they're going the extra mile every day, and they're asking for help in person, on the phone, via email and social media. They're joining groups like the Taking Advantage of the Recession group, or the financial literacy group that Marshall and I have, or just watching videos and listening to people like you and Ian, whoever it may be, that sits in a situation where they want to be in. Somebody like them that sits in a situation that they want to be in. And so there's plenty of communities of sponsors, people that are willing to find someone to help you, and power sponsors, people that will help you themselves and know people that can help you. So please, if you don't know where to go, there, please email me directly. I will give you so many options, opportunities, and touches of favor to be financial literate, to take advantage of the recession, to understand markets, market makers, and margins of millionaires from historical success in the United States, especially. This is your chance to make it big, to take advantage of the American dream. Take advantage, lean in when everyone's leaning out, understand what's going on in the downturn of the market, and go ahead and reach out, david@dmeltzer.com. All right, Jake, why don't you go ahead and let's take the next question, or I could take one online. Why don't I take one online? Who's going to come up next?
Perfect. Let's bring up Jesse next here on Clubhouse when you're ready.
Perfect. How did you come up with daily practices, and how are they aligned with the recession? So over the last 16 years, I have tried to codify or create a process for the empty mile. I myself wanted to figure out, how the heck did I lose everything? And, I was living below the line in blame, shame, and justification when I lost everything. And, looking at those core values of gratitude, where was I finding the light, the love, and the lessons? Was I surrounding myself with the right people and the right ideas that would feed me, not bleed me? And what kind of peace would I create? Instead of trying to get happy, healthy, wealthy, and worthy, I needed to figure out what I was doing to interfere with that. And then accountability changed from, being responsible for everything, to instead asking myself, what did I do to participate in this perception of this event and situation of losing everything? And what am I supposed to learn from it? And that would create the inspiration, the effective communication of me and an omniscient, all-powerful, all-knowing, omnipresent source that had all the answers for me that I was interfering with. And so through that understanding, that shift in perspective and paradigm of gratitude, forgiveness, accountability, and effective communication, I created a step-by-step practice that I was going to do every day. And I was going to do those practices in a trajectory towards these unrealistic, limitless, frictionless opportunities, options, and touches of favors or goals or objectives that I wanted. Unrealistic ones like changing the world, empowering over 1 billion people to be happy, all these different things to teach people, empower them to empower others, to make money, help people, and have fun themselves. And so these daily practices utilize the realistic time frame of 24 hours because they were daily practices. And I knew a day was limited. A day is limited. A day is limited by the 24 hours that it is constructed in. But the productivity is unlimited, the accessibility is unlimited, and the gratitude is unlimited. Therefore, applying the productivity, accessibility, and gratitude to the activities that are constrained or restricted by the 24 hours of today, in order to effectuate an audacious, outrageous, unrealistic future that's completely relative, by leveraging the relativity of the past, by forgiving my past, so I could give that forgiveness to my future, by giving a better meaning to my past through the lessons and the promotion and the protection that I received. These daily practices that I came up to create the productivity, accessibility, and gratitude, which then had a outcome of efficiency, effectiveness, and statistical success, which bends the 24 hours a day, the 1,440 minutes of a man-made constructive day. The way that we bend time is to be efficient, effective, and statistically successful. I utilize the power of 64, 16 hours of productivity in a day, twice as efficient, which makes it 32 hours of productivity, twice as statistically successful through these daily practices, 64 hours of productivity every single day, aggregating and compounding and accelerating upon itself. That's literally 7 average days of productivity every day, 7 days a week. Incredible 56 full days of productivity. That's how we bend the pragmatic friction time of man-made constructive time and make our journey of relativity to the future of changing the world or making over $1 billion or whatever it is that you come up with, all are relying upon the daily practices based on the values of gratitude, forgiveness, accountability, and effective communication. So you need to know what you want personally, experientially, giving and receiving, who you can help and who can help you, taking it to the realm of from possibility to probability, and then making it your reality by utilizing productivity, accessibility, and gratitude, efficiencies, effectiveness, and statistically success to make it happen. Activity you have planned, don't have planned, sleep, activity you get paid for, activity you don't get paid for, allowing you to do it now, to make it real, materialize it. Doing it now is the prioritization of what you want, who you can help you, and how to get it done. It's the prioritization of your values. So especially during a recession, not looking at what you're losing, but looking what opportunities, options, and touches of favors exist in the markets, the market makers, and the margins available. Not what's losing, not what's going down, not what other people are saying, not the negativity, the void, shortages, and obstacles and mistakes that you've made, but instead the importance of what you want, who you can help you, and how to get it done. Allowing you to apply the why every day in a trajectory of an incredible, unbelievable, limitless infinity of a future where you can enjoy the consistent everyday, persistent without quit pursuit of your potential, creating fulfillment, happiness, passion, purpose, and profitability, which is never more available than in a recession or a downturn. That's what I'm talking about. That's how I came up with the daily practices. And if anybody wants those practices, wants to join the group, just email me directly, back channel me, david@dmeltzer.com, DM me, TikTok me, whatever you want to do. Google me, david@dmeltzer.com. Jake, why don't you reset the room? Let's invite some more people in and take on another question.
Perfect. Thank you, Dave. And that email for David is david@dmeltzer.com. David@dmeltzer.com. I have people back channeling me asking for that. He can send you the employee retention credit that he mentioned as well, any of his guides, a link to join the recession group. So anything that you'd like. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I'll quickly reset the room here. We are in the best room on Clubhouse, of course, the Breakfast with Champions, hosted by Glenn Lundy, David's voice double, of course, and he is not here at the moment, but thank you, Glenn, for always hosting the best room here on Clubhouse. This is the Hour of Power with David Meltzer here at 7 a.m. Pacific time, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We got about 16 minutes left. Today's topic is recession training. So let's take a quick second. Let's share this with your family, your friends, your community. And then also let's take a quick second, follow the people next to you, follow the people on stage. We're creating an unbelievable community here. So with that in mind, let's move on to the next question. Let's bring up Jesse Simon. Jesse, do you have a question today for David? If you want to unmute yourself.
Hi, yeah. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Jake, for having me up. Yeah, I do have a question. So, like, when you're making a decision, I know that you, like, refer to your values, but then I'm also trying to, like, think that either way I go, especially if something is a hard decision, that you can go either way, and there will be, like, opportunities on either path that fit you. Like, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, so this is a conflict that a lot of people experience, is that if we take things into a vacuum, they don't make sense. And so what we want to do is make decisions based off of our what, our who, our how, and then determine our now by prioritizing what's important to us. Just because we determine what's important to us doesn't mean that there won't be an outcome, an effect. And the purpose of that effect is a lesson. And the more that we learn the lessons, the more statistically accessible and efficient we are with our decisions, which then bend time in our daily activities, which then allow us to be promoted and protected to places that we may not know. We are not omniscient, all powerful, and all knowing, but we're connected to something that is omniscient, all knowing, and all powerful, and it loves us more than our mom. And so this is where faith comes in, Jesse, that we are going to do our best, learn lessons, and have fun. Let me repeat that. We are going to do our best, learn lessons, and have fun. We're going to utilize the daily practices of what, who, how, and now in order to utilize prioritization as an antidote to the procrastination, the overwhelmness that is infiltrating and insidiously utilizing mind space of people today. But instead, we are going to be productive, accessible, and gracious with that time by prioritizing correctly and applying our why. Instead of trying to get more happy, healthy, wealthy, and worthy, worried about whether we made the right or wrong decision, putting judgments and conditions on others, living in ego-based consciousness with a need to be separate, with a need to be inferior, a need to be superior, a need to be angry, anxious, frustrated, angry, and guilty, and have terrible mental health in order to be resentful, all of these different things of getting in our own way. Instead of trying to go get all these things, we're going to live in peace through gratitude, empathy, accountability, and effective communication, doing our best, learning lessons, having fun. We are going to say to ourselves every morning, despite any decision that we make, we know that we are happy, healthy, wealthy, and worthy. We are what we want. What are we doing to interfere with it? And we're going to utilize the best mindset that we have control of, the best heart set, our feelings that we have control of, and the best handset activities of productivity, accessibility, and gratitude in order to effectuate doing our best. And if we do that, we will be happy. We'll make more money, help more people, and have more fun. But yes, we will make a ton of mistakes, have a ton of setbacks, failures, pain in our lives that's going to indicate to us we're being protected and promoted, propelled into a better place, a better situation, not punished, not a victim, not living in a setback or a failure for a perpetuity of time. Instead, we're going to lean in to the positivity of what we're connected to and through with faith that you've never seen before of protection and promotion of all. Perfect question from a perfect guest. All right, Jake, I'm going to go ahead and take another question online. We got at least thousands of people here with tons of questions. So I want to give them recognition and share those questions with everybody in our clubhouse, Instagram, TikTok, etc. Who's going to come up next to ask another question, though?
Let's take a question from TikTok when you come back, Dave, and then we'll bring on Coach Macho after.
Okay. All right. So
Dave,
go ahead.
it's Dr. Suki.
Hi, Dr. Suki.
How you doing, sweetie?
I'm great. Thank you for coming on.
Okay, I have a question as a woman who happens to be 75, and I don't have the same time that you guys have left. But and I was back channeling you, so you'll get sort of this question. But I would like to know about actually soliciting a benefactor for my literacy program. So my licensing fee can actually be passive income, but I want to know about investing because and I have to go there with you, as a 75-year-old, way before all of your time, my what do I want to say? My security was my husband. And as we know, that turned out really well. I never married David. So I get into this teaching thing that doesn't pay enough money to ever invest in anything. And I happened to do this thing with a friend, and I'm in thing that I saw the paperwork and I lost $100 and some dollars. And I'm thinking, why am I in this thing if I'm losing money all the time? So that's what I want. But I'm not 40, so I don't have 40 years to let my money grow? I only have maybe 20.
First of all, cancel that thought. And as Diane Cannon told me when I told her years ago that I was born on January 11th at 111, that I was going to die at 111 at 111 on January 11th. And she almost cried. And I said, what's the matter? She said, why are you limiting yourself? Stop limiting yourself. We don't know what technology is going to bring to us. As Diane Cannon told me that day, she said, David, what if technology allows you to live to 1,000 and for the next 50 years, you tell everyone that you're only going to live to 111? So stop limiting yourself. Let's utilize daily practices aligned with or in a trajectory of unrealistic, audacious goals and objectives. And so no matter how old you are, and even if you only have 20 years, you need to create compound interest aggregation of your money for two reasons. One, it's the happiest, healthiest way to make your money grow by utilizing a very simple and safe aggregation of savings. But two, energy is money, and energy attracts like energy. So the more money you have and the more money you save, the more money you allow or attract or assume into your existence. And there's many strategies, both in the mindset that I can help you with, the handset side, of course, the pragmatic saving side of a disciplined technique of investing in yourself according to your timing and risk tolerance, as little as you can imagine, in fractionalized, asset-based, insurance-based, savings-based, real estate-based. There's so many different ways to take limited savings and let it aggregate upon itself and utilize other areas to create abundance, because right now that you live in the majority of people that have to tell themselves a different story. Just like you tell yourself a different story today than you did when you were 50 or 30, we're going to teach you a different story to tell of abundance, of limitlessness. And we are going to put your attention in a different place, but more importantly, your intention. We're going to have you do things differently, say things differently, think things differently, believe things differently, and feel them differently in order to take advantage of the infinite source that you're connected to, and through an abundant source of more than enough of everything for everyone, including a shift in your paradigm of your perspective of longevity. And so this is a classic example. Hopefully, Doctor, you will take advantage and join me so I can help shift your mindset, heart set, and handset to create that abundance. And I will shift your reality. You're going to live to over 94, over 20 years. I promise you, you are going to live much, much longer. So let's take advantage of it and utilize some proven financially literate ways of doing so. Thank you for joining me. Jake, go ahead. Give me that.
I'm with you.
I love you. Thank you. And Jake, let's take the TikTok question and then we'll take our last guest.
Perfect. Okay. The question on TikTok is from Joe. And the question is, during the recession, what are your thoughts on investing in crypto? What do you think we should be doing?
Yeah. So look, absolutely invest in crypto. Determinative upon your timing and risk tolerance, determined upon understanding which market you're investing in, the market maker that is in that market, and the margins according to your timing and risk tolerance. Absolutely invest in real estate, absolutely invest in stocks, absolutely invest in NFTs, absolutely invest in sugar, oil, gas, absolutely invest in water. If it's aligned with your timing and risk tolerance, and you know the market is aligned with your skills, knowledge, and desire, you understand the market makers, and the margins are aligned with what you want. Every investment falls into this discipline. And I want to empower people to understand, how do I determine my timing and risk tolerance? How do I know my skills, my knowledge, and desire? And then how do I align it with the market makers, and the margins to maximize it to create abundance? And no matter what you say, should I invest or is it a good? Absolutely. If it's aligned with your timing and risk tolerance, if it's aligned with your skills, knowledge, and desire, if you understand the market to make sure it's aligned, the market makers to know who and how is oversold and undersold and overbought and underbought. And then finally, to comparatively analyze it, the margins under the context of your 5 daily practices of what's important to you. And if all of those in this formula, this matrix, are aligned, then absolutely invest. And I can teach you how to do that. I do it all the time for free. My books, guides, exercises are available. Come join our group. We can help each other do it and give relationship capital to help accelerate that for you. So please understand this methodology of timing and risk tolerance. Understand the methodology of markets, market makers, and margins, especially during the options, opportunities, and touches of favor that exists when things are oversold or overbought, better known as a downturned economy or a recession, which we already are in. And we are here to help one another. That's why and what we do. Jake, I got time for one more quick question on Clubhouse. I want to thank everybody that's here today. Remember, exercises, guides, books, whatever you want, david@dmeltzer.com. Who's up next, Jake?
Looks like we've got
David, I want to ask you something. May I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I love the concept talk is valuable and now it's time to execute. Now, if that be the case, why do people refer to ask, believe, receive, and they often forget the word act? We're talking about executions here,
Yeah.
but then people forget about the word acting. Why?
Oh, because there's no coherence. And coherence is a superpower. And that's why I teach gratitude, because if I can get someone to remember to say thank you and to say it, if I can get them to do that daily, which is free and it takes 0.1 seconds, and everybody has their gratitude challenge to help people with coherence. But if I can teach people a habit machine, then we can utilize the 3 laws that create abundance. And the first is the law of gravity. So we have to have and meet people where they're at. The law of gravity says that the world is spinning, hurling at such a force that you should be thrown off into the universe, but yet you're at the right place at the perfect time. And so when we can get somebody to understand that they are happy, healthy, wealthy, and worthy, then we can get them to shift or act in a paradigm of figuring out what they're doing to interfere with it. And that's called the law of Goya. And I stole this from John Asseroff, one of my dear friends. And the law of Goya is the law of getting off your ass. So you just can't sit around dreaming about what you want. You can't just put attention on a vision board of what you want. You have to put 5 levels of intention. You got to do it, say it, think it, believe it, and feel it. And until you feel it, you're not in inspiration. You haven't cleared the interference, but you need to utilize the law of Goya and get off your ass, Goya. And that action, nothing happens until it moves in the pragmatic world. You can work in quantum physics all you want, but nothing's going to happen until you move in the real world and create action. And if you do consistently, persistently utilize the law of gravity and the law of Goya, you then can experience the law of assumption, allowance, or attraction, determinative upon what your own perspective and your understanding is. Remember, understanding or awareness is the hardware in which we utilize to interpret the truth or our potential. If you are not vibrating or you don't have a frequency high enough, you can't be aware, or you don't have the hardware in which to utilize the information that is available, assumable, attractable, and allowable in your perspective, in your life. And so I am so glad that you brought up the law of Goya, the law of action and activity, because it is what we pay attention to, plus what we give intention to, that equals the coincidences that occur in our lives of what we want, not what other people want, what's missing, what's downturning, what's painful, what mistakes, setbacks, and failures, but what we want in an audacious, outrageous, unrealistic future that actually exists today, now. And so utilizing the law of Goya is essential into executing coherence of remembering what you want, who you can help, who can help you, and how to get it done, to prioritize and doing it. What a great way to finish up, Jake. Thank you so much, everybody. We are going to turn it back over to Amelia and crew, I believe. This is David Meltzer, taking advantage of the recession. What a great way of markets, market makers, and margins. Please reach out to me. Join our group. We'd love to have you. Love to have you every Friday here with you. All the lives that we do, books, exercises, and guides are all free. Just please ask for help. In person, on the phone, via email, social media. Ask for help. Jakey Bakey on the 8 a.m. Pacific time hour. Close out the room, my dear friend.
we flash our mics for Dave? That was an incredible.
Hey, thank you everyone for training. Go ahead, email me, david@dmeltzer.com. I'm here to be of service or value. We'll see you later. Be more interested than interesting. Hang on here. We're going to keep on going on Instagram and